Hello and welcome to the my first video for the D&D game. So because this campaign wasn't recorded, I thought I'd give a quick summary, catch you all up to where we all are, and then obviously you can understand where things have picked off from the video. So our story takes place by Mr. Dr. Eugene Fiddleflesh has created 3 mutants: Finnick, the Black Cat mutant, Orvis Blood, Santa Claus, and Brightbeak, a griffin. Our 3 heroes, Finnick, Brightbeak and Orvis, go out across the island to bring Fiddleflesh some artifacts and materials for his research, because he's on this island and he hasn't got a clue what's on it. Finnick and Fiddleflesh come clashing in personalities, where Finnick wants to be free and just be a cat. Dr. Fiddleflesh does not want this. He wants them to be hard-working mutants to serve in an army. So there's a lot of tension between those 2 characters. Finnick and Brightbeak and Orvis all find a village. It's a nameless village, still new, and Finnick falls in love with a young lady called Josie. And Josie's doesn't find Finnick too shabby either. Cut a long story short, Finnick dies and Fiddleflesh allows it. He could save him if he really tried, but because of his rebellious attitude, Finnick passes away. Upon Finnick's death, however, Orvis encounters a god called Lord Meth, and he's the god of the whole world that they are on. And he basically makes a pact with Orvis, basically stating he wants his evil side, because over the course of the mutations, Santa Claus has become part werewolf. I know, right? Upon passing away, Finnick meets the god of death, Deruden. The afterlife is a very strange place, kind of like very Beetlejuice-esque, but more cleaner and more industrial. It's very hard-working office atmosphere. Finnick gets sent back down to Earth, his soul gets to anyways, as a reaper of the god of death, Deruden. Finnick informs Orvis and Brightbeak about his return, but he pleads not to tell Fiddleflesh. Fiddleflesh, on the other hand, has a change of heart and decides to try and bring Finnick back. Although because Finnick has just came back, his soul is obviously in a different place, in a different body, and this is just an empty shell, unbeknownst to Fiddleflesh. However, Fiddleflesh is somehow able to bring this animated body back to life. Through mechanicalism and robotic parts, Finite is born. However, this particular creature, Finite, believes him to be the real Finnick, because it's his body, it's his memories. It turns out the hatred that Finnick felt for Fiddleflesh before his death, all that hatred splits his soul, and the second half of the soul goes into Finite's body, making him more of a chaotic, crazy character. So Finnick's now in the village with Josie, and he's more than welcome in this village. They're very accepting people, and they all love Finnick. He's just such a charming character. So they kind of hide him from Fiddleflesh, if you will. Now, Orvis and Brightbeak go to see Finnick in the village. They all have their interactions about what's going on, and they ask Orvis and Brightbeak not to tell Fiddleflesh. On the other hand, Fiddleflesh asks Brightbeak and Orvis to go and see Fiddleflesh and meet Finnick, or the new Finnick. They all go to meet Fiddleflesh with the new Finnick, Finnick's 2.0 as I used to call him. This confuses Brightbeak and Orvis, because now they don't know which one's the real Finnick, but they all believe the one in the village to be the real Finnick. Upon seeing the confused expressions on their face, Fiddleflesh gets a bit tetchy with the pair. To the point where Orvis doesn't hide it at all. He's giving away so many signals that he knows something, but he's just not telling Fiddleflesh. From this reaction, Fiddleflesh takes Orvis back to his lab for a bit of questioning. Brightbeak needs to inform Finnick and decides to go and find Finnick, leaving Finnick 2.0 to be like, where do I go, where do I go? So he follows Brightbeak to go and see the real Finnick. Under supreme torture and interrogation, Orvis reveals that Finnick is alive and he is actually in the village. The torture nearly killed Orvis, and it was at this point Montgomery Meth, our good Lord and Saviour, breaks down the door and asks Fiddleflesh what the hell does he think he's doing. He informs Fiddleflesh that Orvis and him have a pact, which is huge because Fiddleflesh is in fact making these mutants for Lord Meth. Using his magic, he's able to conjure up a panda and a baby panda, and he possesses Fiddleflash and all his knowledge to build this panda and this baby panda into mutants, putting the good side of Orvus into the panda and leaving the evil werewolf side of Orvus in Orvus. Meph then takes Orvus and all of his badness and everything to his world, where he becomes a fully fledged member of Meph's mutant army. This leaves Fiddleflash with a creation he doesn't remember making. He just sends him off to find Finnick and help him out. It's at this point Dr. Fiddleflash discovers an old emotion that he has not felt in many, many years: empathy. Fiddleflash has been on this desert, in this desert area for about 6 months with no human interaction. He cares for his experiments to the point where he acts like a very overprotective parent, but at the end of the day he's got a job to do because he's aspiring to be a god of creation. Hence why he's building all these mutants for Lord Meph's mutant army. He starts to feel sorry, he starts to feel empathy for how he's just treated Orvus, and he starts to feel bad for Finnick, who he let die. Finnick 2.0 and Finnick meet. They're a bit colliding at first because Finnick believes that he's superior, not superior, but tries to use the new Finnick as a tool, but Finnick's 2.0 is very stubborn. He's like, no, you're not using me. What's stopping me from telling Fiddleflash that you're alive? So those two had a bit of a bumpy start, but over the action they realise that they're in fact twin souls, that they're brothers, and they just love each other. And their brotherly love continued on. Upon Dander landing into Finnick's life, Finnick asks where he came from, who he is. He confesses that he's in fact Orvus's good self. Hearing this, Finnick realises that Fiddleflash has done terrible things or even killed Orvus. So at that point, Finnick goes over to the lab to confront Fiddleflash. It's around this point that Brightbeak encounters a god called Raphael, god of war. Because he's such a strong creature, Raphael sees promise and sends him off onto missions, to wars, to battles, and he becomes a super strong super mutant through these powers, able to conjure up a powerful sword. And to Fiddleflash's delight, so many gods are finding Fiddleflash's mutants to be pact-worthy, really opens something up in Fiddleflash. Upon Finnick and Dander landing outside the lab, Fiddleflash basically tells Dander and tells Finnick that he is super sorry, he wants to make it up to them, and by doing that he makes them all both able to become human. This is something Finnick really, really wanted because now he can actually be with Josie, his love interest. And on that night, those two consummate and the relationship blossoms into a whole new thing. Everything's all peachy clean. Finnick, Brightbeak and Dander are all buddies again. Finite, as he's now become known, who has changed his blue colouring to red, has again become a bromance or bro to his brother Finnick. Everyone loves Finite still. Everything's all peachy clean. Raphael, god of war, has taken a keen interest in Brightbeak, and Finnick is enjoying being a reaper for Deruden, taking care of all the riff-raff that want to cause harm and saving lives. Everything's all going really, really well. For now. Finnick and Finite encounter a strange group of human called the Inquisition, wearing white uniform, and their ideal is to purge everything that is abnormal. So the only thing that they really believe is normal are humans. They let elves and dwarves and all those kind of people slide, but they are treated unfairly in comparison to humans. And as you can be aware, seeing two felines riding on bikes, humanoid felines might I add, is not normal. So they get shot at, a fight breaks out, they flee, go and tell everyone else, and within hours, villages that they've come to know and establish trade routes and establish some sort of respect for one another are taken over by this group who are forcing this ideology on them, saying that all mutants should be purged, the source of the mutants should be purged, and all of the mutants go into hiding. It's around this point that they put their human forms to good use, mingling in with the Inquisition, learning, investigating. A lot of character development happens around this certain arc of the Inquisition. Gets to the point where they're all ready to end it because they get information that the Rhino, which is a huge Inquisition building structure on wheels, which is just going to plough through the whole island, turning villages to dust and erecting cities of Inquisition members, and forcing farms and all that to grow food for them, and establish a sort of normal aesthetic, not bringing in money and currency. The whole subject of trade routes has gone out the window. It's all going to be one big controlled island, and this simply won't do. So they all decide to end it. Finite had been captured multiple times. This has resulted in them doing a carbon copy called Finice, who is an android version of Finite. So he's a threat as well. He's a 100% robotic thing, which to them is more normal than the cyborg that is Finite. So Finnick, Fiddleflesh and Brightbeak in their human forms go into the Rhino. They mess up a few of their bits and bobs. I believe Brightbeak even felt sick on the steering wheel to prevent it from being moved. Finnick went and finnicked up a bunch of tanks by destroying them. He's become super intelligent as this game has gone on. And Fiddleflesh goes off and does his own thing. And cut a long story short, battle takes place. Finite appears. Finite and Finice are all doing battle, are battling each other, and Brightbeak loses his patronage with Raphael due to the fact that he keeps asking Raphael for help, which Raphael does not appreciate. He views that as a cowardly thing and breaks his pact from Brightbeak. Brightbeak is now distracting Major Dinoblast. He's the leader of the Inquisition. If he leaves, then that should be the whole thing gone. Finnick uses his Reaper powers to basically tell everyone to get out of the Rhino. And Dander, who has a pact with Daruden now as a Reaper, has a serious stern meeting with Daruden, who converts him from a Reaper to a High Priest due to his unnecessary killing of innocent Inquisition lives, who are merely just doing their job. So Dander is left in charge of going around from city to city to convert everyone into following the ideals of Daruden, of the whole aspect of being fair, and the aspect of just living together in peace and not forcing ideologies on other people. He doesn't fail any of these roles that we do, and all the villagers end up making their way to the Rhino just in time for the Rhino to blow up as Finite explodes, with Brightbeak distracting Dinoblast long enough to get everyone out of the Rhino, leaving just Brightbeak, Dinoblast, Finice and Finite all within the confines of the Rhino. Finnick, having a memory chip full of Finice and Finite's memories and souls, if you will, before Finite blew up, had escaped, and Brightbeak gets sent to the afterlife, as you'd expect, and with having no god or pact with Raphael anymore, he is sent before Daruden with a proposition of becoming a paladin of Daruden. He is sent back to see his friends Finnick and Dander. All three of them are under the employment of Daruden, a Reaper, a Priest, and a Paladin. So you're more than likely going to see those three again, maybe in an actual recording or another story such as this, but all three of them tackling the afterlife's issues. And obviously there'll be events during the afterlife that will include one or two or even all three of them. I really enjoyed doing this video, I've enjoyed editing it. I may do another one, we'll have to see. But yes, this has been the originals, Flesh and Blood. Enjoy the following videos to come from this one, with the interview with Montgomery Meth. Praise be Daruden. Finite and Finice for Lord Meth. And recording!